Welcome. Today I'm going to recap a 2020 documentary called Assassins, which is about the assassination of Kim Jong-nam and the two killers who were tricked into performing the killing. Buckle up. The CCTV footage from Kuala Lumpur International Airport on February 13, 2017 shows at around 9 a.m. Kim Jong-nam walking into the KLIA terminal. Two young women are waiting in the airport. One of them is Siti Aisyah, an Indonesian. She has long hair and is wearing a light gray shirt. She is Indonesian. The other is Don T Hong, a Vietnamese. She has a short bob, and wears a white t-shirt with a large LOL word printed on the front. Kim Jong-nam was supposed to print out his boarding pass, but before he could do that, the girls converge on the short pudgy man, and attack him from behind, smearing VX chemical, a lethal nerve agent, on his face. The CCTV footage shows Kim Jong-nam approaching airport security, making gestures to describe that these two women came up to smear his face with a chemical. Airport security escorts him to the clinic to seek medical attention, and Kim Jong-nam is already limping slightly as the VX takes effect. He would be dead within the hour. VX chemical is a lethal nerve agent which works so rapidly there's little to no time for treatment. Meanwhile, the women had walked away from the scene, separately, holding their hands in the air, to visit the restrooms and wash their hands. The women then leave the airport, taking separate cabs back into the city. The brazen killings in broad daylight makes international headlines and shocked the world. First, a bit of background on the North Korean ruling family. Kim Jong-nam is half-brother to Kim Jong-un, the current dear leader of North Korea. Kim Jong-nam and Kim Jong-un had two different mothers and grew up separately. Kim Jong-nam was once the favored son of Kim Jong-il, former leader of North Korea, and was slated to take over leadership of the country. However, Kim Jong-nam was sidelined after being caught by Japanese police using a fake passport and bringing his family to Disneyland in Japan, the quintessential American symbol, which embarrassed the North Korean regime. There were rumors that Kim Jong-un's mother had tipped Japanese police as to Kim Jong-nam's visit to Disneyland. In any case, Kim Jong-nam struck a deal with his father to be allowed to leave the country and he moved to Macau, but he was ruled out from succession. In 2011, Kim Jong-il dies and Kim Jong-un officially comes into power. To consolidate his grip on power, he purges perceived threats within the ranks including senior figures. One such example is Jang Song-thaek, his uncle. It was around this time when Kim Jong-nam was traveling around Asia, and made remarks seemingly questioning the hereditary succession system and the legitimacy of the rule of Kim Jong-un. Coming back to Malaysia in 2017, Siti Aisyah and Don T Hong were arrested a couple of days after the killing. The Malaysian police also announced that there were 8 North Korean suspects. 4 of them were at the airport at the time of the killing, but they had left the country on the same day immediately after the attack. Another one of the 8, Ri Jong-chul, is a chemist on the payroll of the North Korean embassy. Ri Jong-chul was living in Malaysia and had been arrested. During the press conference, a journalist asks the police spokesman if the women knew the substance was toxic. The spokesman says the ladies were holding their hands away from their body, so they must surely have known the substance was toxic. The North Korean ambassador holds a press conference complaining about the arrest of Ri Jong-chul, the chemist, saying that it is a grave human rights violation. Malaysia expels the North Korean ambassador, and in retaliation, North Korea bans Malaysians from leaving North Korea, effectively making them hostages. North Korea demands for the release of Ri Jong-chul and 2 other suspects hiding in the North Korean embassy, as well as the return of Kim Jong-nam's body. Malaysia agrees to this. In return for this, 9 Malaysians who were stuck in North Korea were allowed to return to Malaysia. Malaysia insisted this was not a trading of hostages but that they were done with investigating the North Korean suspects. The trial begins. The prosecution has charged the 2 women, as well as the 4 North Koreans at large, with murder of Kim Jong-nam. Notably, the government refused to name the 4 North Koreans at large, despite the defense's protests. If found guilty, Siti and Don will be sentenced to death by hanging. Siti and Don, on their part, both claim to have been participating in a YouTube prank show. According to them, they thought it was body lotion on their hands. They had no idea the man they attacked was anyone important. One of them had no idea who Kim Jong-nam even was. What it boils down to: were the women trained assassins or innocent pawns of North Korean agents? Both Sidi and Doan came from humble families, naive country girls, caught up in forces beyond their understanding in the big city. Doan had an accountancy degree from a private university, but couldn't get a job as an accountant, so she worked as a waitress at a pub and did modeling as well. Doan had artistic aspirations. She wanted to be an actress. In her police statement, she had put down actress as her occupation. She had even taken part in Vietnam Idol. In 2016, there were other funny videos where Doan was acting in which were posted on YouTube. These videos were unconnected with the North Koreans, and shows that she was acting in funny video clips even before she met the North Koreans. According to Doan, her colleague introduced her to a man, Mr. Y, in December 2016. Mr. Y explained to her about the job, which involved making funny videos. Doan felt a bit shy but asked for USD 1,000 a month. Mr. Y said his boss can pay for the funny video. The work was intermittent, but at least it wasn't dirty or back-breaking. Sidi's backstory is more grim. She left her village and moved to Jakarta, where she found work in a clothing factory. She married her boss, gave birth to a child at 17, whom she then lost to her ex in the eventual divorce. She moved to Kuala Lumpur and drifted into sex work. According to Sidi, a taxi driver named John, one of the many mysterious figures who enter this story, tells Sidi about a potential job participating in prank videos through a Japanese company. Sidi jumped at the chance. John introduces James, who is one of the 8 North Korean suspects, to Sidi. In an interview with John, he confirms that James had approached him, asked him to introduce girls to do prank videos, and that of all the girls he asked, only Sidi was willing to participate. There is also a photo of John, James and Sidi together during their first meeting at Pavilion, a shopping center in Malaysia. The photo was coincidentally taken by someone who knew John and posted it in a group chat, and would appear to further corroborate Sidi's story. Prior to the assassination, the girls would participate in similar pranks at the direction of their North Korean handlers. For Doan, in the first one, at the Vietnamese airport, she was given Johnson baby cream by Mr. Y, and she went up to a stranger from behind and covered his eyes. Mr. Y is standing a short distance away, filming the prank. After her first prank, Mr. Y told her to use more force when covering the eyes and face, as this will make for a better video. She did a similar prank at KLIA a few days later, approaching a man from behind and also covering his eyes. This time, Doan was commended for her performance in this prank. In another video of Doan checking into her hotel at Kuala Lumpur, Doan is seen carrying around a huge teddy bear and is told to practice on a teddy bear. Sidi also had 3 days of pranks, all at the arrival of KLIA. Additionally, both Sidi and Doan had also made social media posts about their whereabouts and the days leading up to the killings. If they were really assassins, would they be so casually posting about this? During the trial, the investigating officer said that it is illogical and does not make any sense that it was a prank. The investigating officer said the specific act was more of an attack specifically targeted and perpetrated. In an interview with the defense lawyer of Doan, they say that the girls have got no motive whatsoever, while the North Koreans clearly have motive. There are rumors that Kim Jong-un had actually made several attempts on Kim Jong-nam's lives, and Kim Jong-nam had actually written a letter to Kim Jong-un to leave him and his family alone. Kim Jong-nam was also a CIA informant and was being paid to provide information to the USA on the inner workings of North Korea. This fact would also have made him a target for the regime. In the Malaysia justice system, once the prosecution presents its case, the judge has to decide whether a case has been proven. The judge could either acquit the women or call for their defense. Here, the judge finds that a case has been proven against both the women. The judge says the CCTV footage shows both women holding their hands away from themselves, and the precise timing and the use of VX as a chemical weapon all goes to support that they knew the liquid they placed on their hands were toxic substances. He further says that the sole purpose of a prank is fun, and it is evident that none of the features of prank can be seen or found to exist in the CCTV footage, and that the contention that they were merely duped or tricked into carrying out the act does not hold water. He calls upon the women to enter their defense on the charges. The prosecution and the judge point to the CCTV footage showing that both women were holding their hands away from their bodies and clothes, trying to avoid contact with it, as evidence that they knew it was poisonous. However, Doan says that this is because the substance was oily and smelly and didn't want to dirty her clothes. In one shot, the CCTV also shows City rubbing her palms together. If the women knew it was a toxic chemical, would they have taken the risk of exposing themselves to such a dangerous poison and applied it to their own hands? Would City have been rubbing her hands together if she knew how deadly it was? The North Korean men who were in the airport to oversee the killing left Malaysia on that same day, and only the 2 women remain in Malaysia to face the charges. In one shot, you can see the men smiling and laughing after clearing the metal detector in the airport. A few days after the judge calls for the defense to be entered, the prosecution surprisingly drops its charges against City without giving any reasons for this. The court duly releases City. We find out that this is because the Indonesian government had been having very high-level discussions with the Malaysian government and had been pressuring Malaysia to release City. The same could not be said for the Vietnamese government, who was not doing as much to help Doan. Vietnam and North Korea have close relations as communist countries. There is a lot of North Korea activity inside Vietnam, and Vietnam does not have as strong an incentive to speak out and anger North Korea. The trial against Doan continues. Eventually, however, the charges against Doan were reduced from murder to causing harm, which is a much lesser offense. Shortly after, she is released and returns to Vietnam. In a way, this was a perfect crime for North Korea. In killing his half-brother, Kim Jong-un sent a message to the world that his brutality knows no limits. The North Koreans suffered no punishment. The North Korean embassy remains in Malaysia, and Malaysia and North Korea continue to maintain diplomatic relations. Kim Jong-un is still able to present himself as an international statesman and peer of other world leaders. What do you think? Were the 2 women cold-blooded, trained assassins? Or were they merely pawns who really thought that they were just acting in a prank? Leave a comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.